Today on Digital Marketing Masters, with your host Matt Rouse, our guest is Mark Dulaney. From the School of Execution, your personal drill sergeant, Mark Dulaney.
And welcome back to Digital Marketing Masters. I'm your host, Matt Rouse, and today my guest is the one and only Mark Dulaney. Mark, how you doing?
Matt, I'm honored to be here. I'm excited to see how we can help your audience better use AI or in any other way improve their lives. Excited, big time.
As we were kind of talking about in the green room, it doesn't all have to be about, AI all the time. I think you have a lot of experience and expertise in realms other than AI as well. So I think we should talk about that a bit first. But we definitely have some cool AI stuff to talk about as usual. Mark, what is the worst kept secret?
Execution. Doing what you learned in podcasts like this, doing what you learned from whatever I say that intrigues you, all of those studying that you do about sales, marketing, business, whatever it is, your ability to go out every day to boldly, consistently, and effectively do what you learned. But most importantly, get better and better at it every day. And that's the part that I think most people miss, the getting better at it every day. I can't begin to tell you how many people say, oh, I tried that once or twice, and then they just stop. No one ever became successful that way. So getting people to do what they know, even if they suck at it, just learn to get better every time. My favorite saying is get a little better every day and in every way.
I heard an interesting interview the other day. He's the Les Claypool. He's the bass player from a band called Primus. And he's like just an amazing bass guitar player. But anyway, the question to him was, how did you learn how to play these complicated bass lines and be able to sing at the same time? And the answer was, I just played the bass line over and over again until it was part of my subconscious. And that's the thing. Just practice and practice and practice and practice and practice, right?
That's right. That's it.
You get incrementally better. Almost everything that I've ever accomplished in my life that had any meaning to it was because it was something I practiced and got incrementally better at.
And I 100% agree with that. But an element of it is not just practicing and doing the same thing over and over again, but critical analysis. What did I do right? What could I do better? What should I never do again? Like those questions end up being a big part of how you actually get better and the difference between becoming an expert as opposed to it being a hobby thing.
I think there's also something interesting there on the AI kind of front about that. And I've been hearing people talk about this more recently, is that they're using their AI like ChatGPT or whatever they're using as like a companion to kind of talk through their ideas and stuff. And it always cheers you on and always says you're going to kill it with whatever you're doing. Right. That's not very critical.
Not mine. Mine has told me, Mark, that's not the best way to go. Try this instead. I use my AI tool is called Future Me. And I've told it what I want to be in 10 years. And it has frequently told me, Mark, that's not the best way to go. You need to do this instead. So I don't know how I programmed to do that, but it does tell me. Sometimes mine does tell me.
Well, I think context is the most important thing when you're using AI, right? So you're saying, look, this is the result I'm trying to achieve. It will do what it can to try and help you, achieve that result, as long as it understands what the result is, right?
Right.
I think what a lot of people do is they just say, well, okay, I need a marketing plan for my business. I'm a real estate agent, and you were a real estate agent previously, right?
Yes, I was.
We can say, okay, I'm a real estate agent, so I want a digital marketing plan for my Instagram. And it's going to give you some ideas. Maybe I should do this instead, or maybe I should change this thing, or you tell it, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. I don't want to be on video, whatever. And then it's going to give you a list of the same things. It's going to be like, yeah, you go out there, you're going to kill it. And that is not true, right?
I agree. That is definitely not true. I think that what we have to do is we have to be critical when we do something. First of all, you never learn from the first time you do something, whether it's going to work or not. Right. So when you do it, you do have to ask yourself questions about how do I do this better? And you have to look at the results that you're getting, the honest results you're getting, and say, this is not what I wanted. I want this. So how do I need to make these major changes And then the changes should get smaller and smaller as you go along, because you're getting better and you're getting better. And don't hesitate to run it by people who are critical of you, who will be critical of you, not just be your cheerleader, but actually say, I think this is bad. And I think this is good. I'm not sure. Most important thing though is do it over the course of time, and you will get better at it, as long as you're critical in your assessment of your performance.
Where do you think people go wrong when they're trying to execute?
One thing is, everybody wants the benefit of execution. Very few people actually want to do the executing.
And Mark, let me interrupt you for 1 second. Do you think we should define what we mean by execution?
We can, yes. It is execution. I define as doing what is required boldly, consistently, and effectively to create the results that create the life I want.
That's a good definition.
Yeah. So there's specific execution for your marriage, specific for being a parent, specific for marketing, specific for how you take care of your body. And we often default to what we want to do, what we like to do, what we enjoy doing, and we don't do what's required. And I think doing the required part is what most people miss out on. And you'll hear people say things like, oh, I'm not good at that. And I'm not really good at that. And it's not that they're not good at it. They just are afraid. And so generally speaking, whatever we're afraid to do is the thing we need to be doing the most.
The idea of the road less traveled, right? The hard thing is the thing that nobody wants to do, but that's the thing that gives you the most benefit.
Correct. The thing that you're probably avoiding is the thing that will get you the results that you want more than the stuff that you enjoy doing. So Michael Jordan was a great basketball player, obviously, and he was physically gifted. But what we don't see are the hours he spent in the gym. We don't see the number of jump shots he took, how when he was in pain, he still showed up and played. We want to do everything when it's on our time and when we feel good about it. And that's just not how you create success. That's how you create normal and average life.
I read something interesting along those lines the other day. This is Strategy by Seth Godin. All the low-hanging fruit has already been picked. And there's a lot of truth in that, right?
Right.
If anyone could do anything that was simple and easy to make a business and make a bunch of money or whatever it is that they want to do, somebody's already done it. It's too late.
Right.
So the only stuff that's left is the stuff that's difficult.
Unless you create something totally brand new that no one's ever tried before, that you love, you're going to have to do something to make yourself uncomfortable. You're going to have to challenge your comfort zones at some point if you want to create success. Unless you're just lucky and you happen to be this unique person, maybe you have 3 hands and you can do stuff faster than anybody else. But if you're just working with the regular body like the rest of us, you're going to have to be better than us. And you only get better by practicing it and doing it over and over and over again. How many episodes of this podcast have you done?
This is episode 274.
Are you better today than you were at episode 10?
A lot better.
And it's the only
way. At least I think so, anyway.
The only way you
jury's out.
The only way you get better at it is by doing it. And that's the biggest thing that most people don't want to do.
Well, I can tell you, the one thing that I find really interesting is that people lock into a pattern often, even if they get good at something, especially when it comes to business tasks or processes. They lock in a process when they think the process is at the point that it's good, which is kind of good enough. And then iteration stops. So I wrote a book a while back, a couple of years ago now, that was called How We've Always Done It. And the problem is that once people put a process in place that they've created that fits the original requirements, it becomes set in stone and nobody looks at it again.
So behind me, which I know you can't see in the podcast, is the book. And one of the things interesting, everyone wants to be an author. No one wants to sell their book. Everyone wants to write the book because they're at their computer, they're in a safe environment. They literally publish books and they believe that just because they wrote it, people are going to buy it. They don't want to go out and market it. I've looked people in the eye, says, you writing this book, right? You got to start posting about it on social media. You got to start talking about it. They don't want to do that. But sitting at a computer comfortably writing a book is very comfortable. And that's why a lot of people write books that never, ever actually get sold.
Or they write books that never get finished.
Never get finished.
I'll tell you an interesting story about that. My business partner, Scott, he was, when he was living in Oregon, he was going to move to Arizona. He needed a place to stay for a while. And so he rented a room off this guy who had been writing a book. And one day his laptop broke. And not Scott, but the guy he's living with. The guy he's living with is freaking out. He's like, I got to get my book on there because I don't have a backup. And Scott's like, well, I didn't know you were writing a book. He's like, yeah, I've been writing it for 11 years. I'm like, if you've been writing your book for 11 years, like it's never coming out unless it's like some epic overarching story that, spans decades kind of thing. Like, let's face it, you're never writing that book, right?
Right. And
That's a pipe dream.
the other one is, I know a guy that goes to my church. He wrote a book. It's like, this is thick. It's hardcover, great cover image. He never sells them. He just gives them away. And he wonders why his business isn't growing. And if you try to talk to him about it, he looks at you like you're crazy. Like, I don't need to do that. And so it's interesting. I think writing a book is one of the easiest things that people can do if they don't want to if they want to face rejection.
Yeah, I think one of the best things I ever did was write a book, honestly, and give it away. But in my industry, I'm at the point where I've gotten to like, I got the meeting with somebody, and now I got to show them, what are we going to do? How are we going to solve their problems? That kind of stuff. And I come in and I give them my book instead of a business card. Right.
Right.
And then what happens is every other person that goes to see them who's trying to sell something similar to whatever we're doing, they're just some salesperson with a laptop, and I'm the expert who wrote the book on it. Right.
Right.
We are the only choice because we wrote the book.
And so in your case, you're actually using the book for a purpose. Right. You're not just giving it away to random people. And that's why I think that your idea is great. He was just giving the book to random people. Here, read this, and here, read that. But he had no follow-up or anything like that. And
that's not a process that's going to work, right? He needs to iterate on that process.
He does. Except that you can't tell some people some things because they think they know everything already. And
there's a lot of that, right? Another thing about execution that I think is interesting is intention, right? What's your intent when you're going to execute on whatever it is that you're trying to get done?
I think intent is a major part of it. I think the other part of it is, what are they trying to avoid by what they're choosing to execute on? So in the case of the book guide I was talking about, he doesn't want to get rejected, so he gives his book away. So he's avoiding rejection. If you're avoiding rejection, you're missing the opportunity to really create success. You have to put yourself in a position to be rejected, or else you're not in a position to be told yes. So intention is a great thing, but also, what are we avoiding? What are we intentionally avoiding? So hard work, rejection, public speaking, asking for what you want, all of those things are just as important as the intention.
It's also a lot of money to get somebody to buy like a 400-page hardcover book. Probably costs $30 just to print it, Like, it's hard to go out there and say, hey, buy my book for $50, right? When they don't know if it's going to do whatever the point of the book is, right?
So before someone writes a book, I would recommend they sit down and think about, what is this book going to do for me? Why am I writing this book? You were brilliant in how you gave it, and it separated you from everyone else. But most people think that writing a book is a panacea.
I was like, okay, I get it now. You know what? I could write shorter books that cost less to print, that still have, great information in them that people need. But then each time I put it out, now I'm more of an expert because I have more books.
Right.
And honestly, it does make you more of an expert because now you're out researching, right? You're trying to put stuff in practice. You're trying to put your thoughts down and get them organized properly. And you kind of learn a lot of things in the doing, right?
And I think what you said was, if you're doing a sales presentation and get somebody else with just a business card or brochure, you clearly look more like the expert because you have that book, and your book tells them how to do things. So I definitely think that that's a great thing that you did. That's why I love that idea when you said it.
Except for my new book, which is doesn't really have a direct business purpose. It's kind of just because I like writing books. And it's Will AI Take My Job Too? Available on Amazon. Go buy my book.
I've heard about the book, and I'm going to attend your event next week at one of the groups that we're in together. But I just want to say, before you wrote the book, you had a clear purpose for it, correct?
Yeah. I mean, the idea was I have to do all the research and stuff anyway, sort of kind of ring the alarm bells a little bit, right? And I can say, look, you need to plan for what's coming. And just like we're planning for what's coming, but it also gives me a purpose to do the research and continue to do it.
Now, getting back to one of the topics that we started with was AI. I imagine, I haven't done it with AI, that AI makes it tremendously easier to write a book.
It depends how you use it, right? Since my book is about AI, I used AI in parts of the book, right? So in the first book, I had the AI write the foreword to the book. But in book number 2, Will AI Take My Job Too? The AI is only used for 2 things. It writes the 3 key takeaways from each chapter that are included at the end. So it's basically summarizing, which we also edit, right, manually. But also, I used it a lot where I would write a paragraph about something that's a complicated subject, and I would put it in, and I'd say, could you help me explain this more clearly, right? And it would spit something out, and then I would, of course, fact check it, edit it, and that kind of thing. So there are times when I need to figure out where the gap is between what I know about AI and what your average person who doesn't really know anything about AI. How do I explain a fairly complex subject like what is the token when it comes to AI, right? That's something that people don't understand. And a token is like a symbol or a syllable or part of a word, and AI systems run on tokens. And the more tokens that it uses, the more it costs, right? The more it costs to run it. And tokens are how you track the cost of use of an AI. So if my software application that I'm using uses 1 million tokens from GPT-5, it costs me $15. And 1 million tokens is roughly 700,000 words. So that whole thing is explained in the book in more detail and better explained, obviously, because we don't have all the time in the world. But that is something that I struggled with. I was like, how do I explain what a token is?
I never knew that they did that, so you helped me understand it. I keep wanting to switch to something that everybody, no matter what your technology level is how you take care of your body, because without your body, nothing else works.
Right.
And so when we talk about people starting, everyone who can walk should start by walking and should have some kind of an escalation plan. And I think that you can learn a lot about yourself, because no one else, the reason I start all my clients off working with their body is because they don't need permission from anyone else. They don't have to sell anybody else. All they have to do is take control of themselves. And I can get someone starting out with exercise and eating better, and then have that transition into better use in relationships, sales and marketing. And so if someone's looking for a way to be better at execution, improving your body is a great start.
Yeah, so just to be clear, when you're working with clients, like, how would you describe what it is that you do so that people understand better?
So my term, you've heard me say many times, I'm a drill sergeant for hire, and I want you to be more afraid of me than you are of what you're afraid of doing. And if I can get you to be more afraid of me than what you're afraid of doing, then I can get you to do more things than you would do normally. The second thing that I would say is execution has a level of quality and quantity and consistency. So not just getting you to do something once and go, oh, I'm successful, but getting you to do it over and over again, so you learn how to do it better every time, is what I help my clients do. So whether it's exercise and diet, whether it's selling and marketing, whether it's being loving to the people in your lives, I help people do those things and get better and better, a little better every day and in every way.
Right. You know, one thing that it kind of reminds me of, and I had described this previously in one of my books, was about kind of the difficult things that you do are the ones that end up being worthwhile. And the idea of kind of like you're climbing a hill, right? It's difficult to climb up the hill, but you can't see how good things are going to be on the other side of the hill until you get to the top. And when you get to the top of that hill, everything on the other side of the hill is better, but the other thing that's on the other side of that hill is another hill. So then you climb the next hill, and then everything on the other side of that hill is better than it was on the previous hill, right? So each hill that you climb, each time you do something that is more difficult, ends up being more rewarding as well.
That's a great analogy. I think that it's an interesting thing. It's a little bit different topic, but when someone sets out to do something and they don't live up to their own standards, 2 things happen. Number one, they don't get what they want, but then number 2, they find a way that's negative to pacify themselves with their negative feelings.
Right.
So whether it's watching television, doing some kind of a inebriation, whether or not it's things that they shouldn't do. So when we don't execute, not only do we miss the benefits of the execution, but then we execute something negative that takes away from the quality of our lives.
I think that's absolutely true. The other thing is, I know Ben, we both know Ben Albert, right? Because we're in Ben Albert's group. That's where we met,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
And Ben Albert was on the podcast as well last year. I'm going to be on his show in a couple of weeks. But anyways, look up Ben Albert. He's a good guy. Ben Albert was talking about kind of the idea that it's like people who kind of step out of their comfort zone and, you know, take a chance and they execute just like you're talking about and do these things, right? You end up becoming almost a different person, right? And you almost become a different group of people. Like everyone in our networking group are people who have done these things. They've stepped out on their own. They've gone outside the box. They're doing things that, you know, the average kind of person doesn't normally do. They are reliant on themselves, you know, and there's all these things that kind of come together. Without rambling too much off topic on this, the idea that doing difficult things sets you apart from other people.
Every morning when we wake up, I believe we make a decision. We are either a victim of our past or we commit to being victorious in our future. And whenever somebody says, I'm not good at that, they're being a victim of their past. I don't care what it is. If you say I'm not good at marketing, I'm not good at sales, I'm not good in relationships, it's not based on you today, it's based on what happened to you in the past. Now, being a Black man, there are a ton of Black people in every city that are still affected by slavery. There are women who are affected by the misogyny and the sexism that occurs. I don't know how things are in Canada, so I can't speak to that. Every morning, we make a decision that we're either going to limit ourselves by what's happened to us in the past, whether it's history or it happened to us specifically, or we're going to be victorious and create the future we want. And that's really every decision we make from there emanates from that one big decision.
You know, you can sort of see the idea of like internet anonymity has had kind of, it's been like a two-edged sword. Obviously, there's a lot of negative things that come from anonymity on the internet, and we all know what those things are. But I think there's also been this thing where people could go out and they can build businesses and they can do things and they can make their own success without anyone ever having known what they look like, what their name is. It's been that anonymity has been a way to sort of avoid the traps of, you know, being marginalized. We all know there's still lots of problems in those neighborhoods. A friend of mine used to say, excuses are failure in advance.
And I say excuses are your way of rejecting yourself.
Yeah. And I don't mean to make little of, you know, the traumas that people have had in the past, because of course those are real things, right? Also, there's a lot of people out there.
So I apologize. They're not always real things, Matt. Wow. Sometimes we've been taught this is the way things are. They never actually happen to us. But if we were taught that this is how things are, then we have this place that we stay locked into because we believe what someone taught us.
That's true.
I just had to throw that in there.
There is tons of people who have every opportunity and every advantage in the world who don't do shit with their life.
That's true.
A lot of times you might hear this kind of as a slang thing on social media and stuff where people, especially younger people, call them NPCs. It stands for non-player character. It's somebody who is like in a video game that's just like a background character that doesn't do anything, right? They're an NPC. They're not important. And there's a lot of people who live their life on autopilot. They don't really do anything, put themselves out there. They don't excel at anything. I'm not saying that that's the only value people have, but there's definitely a lot more value, I think, personally, to accomplishing things.
And it certainly makes life and it makes the world a better place when people accomplish things. There are some people who are truly content with what they have. Right. But I think most of us are just afraid to venture out to something better. We're like king of 10 people when we could be, for lack of a better term, a jack of 1,000 people. We'd be way better off by being a jack of 1,000 people and being a king of our 10 people who love us.
Yeah, and I don't think that it's just a monetary or like a physical thing, right? Like having stuff. I think in a lot of ways it's about having less stuff, honestly, but having a better life in general, and a better life for your family, and, you know, being able to connect with people and, Can you imagine if I just stayed in my tech support job that I had before I ever went to the United States? I didn't work at all those places. I didn't start a marketing agency, and you and I would have never met.
That's true. That's definitely true. I also think that experiences from the past show up in benefits of things you never thought of would ever happen in the future. And
That's true.
that's why those experiences become so important, because, wow, I did this. I remember doing that years ago. So I got a little bit of a head start on someone who's never done that before. I've been married and divorced twice. And now I'm dating a woman that I want to marry. And I learned so much from my past 2 divorces that I don't make the same mistakes that I made back then. There's a theory, and theory might not be the right word, but your failures, if you take the time to learn from them, can become your greatest successes or greatest assets moving forward in the future. And so that's the thing that I try to do. I try to take all the stuff that I've learned from the past and I try to use it to create a better future. One thing I would say, Matt, though, is that someone's going to listen to us today and they're going to be like, well, this is good stuff. Yeah, they're right. But I tell you, I had to get cancer, prostate cancer, to wake me up to doing all the stuff that I know. And I don't want that to happen to anyone in your audience. I don't want that to happen to you. You're already doing things. But I think sometimes there's a saying, it's not what happens, it's how you respond to whatever happens. Well, me getting cancer created a response in me that created a greater sense of urgency towards business and financial success than I ever had before I had cancer. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I really believe that bad things will happen to us. The question is, how do we turn it to our advantage? How do we grow from it? How do we learn from it? How do we overcome it?
I remember this just unbelievable story I heard one time. It was actually on the radio, and I was traveling at the time, so I never got the name of the guy who was telling the story. But it was about his family, and he had left his family basically to go away to go to school and did some traveling. And he came back, and they were just going downhill. They lived in a dilapidated trailer, and it's like the only thing their whole family owned. And there's a lot of smoking and drinking and drug abuse and stuff like that going on in their home. And basically they disowned him because he was didn't want that life. He ended up leaving for quite a while, and he came back. I think it was something like 10, 15 years later. And they're all in the same place, still living in the same house. The one guy had I think his foot had been amputated from drug use. There's holes in the walls. The place is a disaster. And they're just his mother has one of those speech boxes in her throat because of throat cancer from smoking. And, everything just degraded incrementally over time. But they were still yeah, this is our life kind of thing, right? And what happens is the opposite effect happens. If you're not out there pushing for your life to get better, it will incrementally get worse.
Correct. So when you tell that story, I remember I used to be in a network marketing company, and we call it Invaded Canada, a company called New Skin. And basically this guy said, he told a story about Canadian crabs, that if one crab is crawling out of a bucket, the others will pull them back down.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that's true of crabs or not, but I do know that when you're trying to climb out of a bad place, the way people who are in that bad place justify is by telling you out there is something you don't want to go to. You don't want to graduate from us. Right. But then when you do graduate, they want to share in your success. One of the interesting things about LeBron James, and I was never a big fan of his teams, but he's surrounded by some pretty powerful people. And that's why his business grows to be close to $1 billion. So who you surround yourself says a lot about who you want to be. When I joined Grow Getters, Ben Albert's group, I want to be around people on the same journey as I'm on. I want to grow. I want to get better. But if you spend your time, if you're the highest income earner, if you're the best in your circle of influence, you're going to be stuck where you are. Get with people who are better than you at what you want to be good at and learn from them. And Matt, that's why I'm honored to be here today. And I wanted to be on your podcast because every time you say something, it's pretty insightful.
Oh, well, thank you. I hope that it's true also.
It's true to me. But so the second part of my thing, so one of the things I say is execution is the worst kept secret, but it's also the most avoided secret. If you find yourself finding reasons not to do something you know you should do, you're avoiding something. and you're probably avoiding the one thing that's going to make the biggest difference in your life. So that most avoided part is the thing that I really think people should focus on. What am I avoiding doing because I'm scared? Because I don't think I would be good at it. That's the thing you should focus on doing.
100%. Mark, if somebody wants to reach out to you for a chat or to get more information, what do you think is the best way for them to do that?
The best way is the schoolofexecution.com. And you can spell it SCHOOL or SKOOL, but the schoolofexecution.com is my platform. I have a community there. We'll give you a course, 7-day course called the Executioner Fast Start Program. It's 7-day trial. It's free. You'll learn enough to go out on your own. If you want to stay with us, I'll help you implement it and do more with it.
Mark Dulaney. And also, I wanted to give another shout out also. Grow Getters is the name of the group we're in with Ben Albert, where business owners meet regularly. And I'm also in another group that I was actually on before I came on to the recording today with Audrey Quan, which is a group specifically for marketing agencies. So if that's something you guys are interested in, I would definitely check out that group, Audrey Quan's group. If you had one piece of advice, Mark, for people who are having trouble kind of getting the motivation to get started, what do you think that would be?
Number one, it would be motivation is fleeting, so don't depend on it. Number two is you always have control over what you do with your body and your mouth and your thoughts. Take control of your thoughts. It leads to better action, leads to better words, and everything in your brain, and it's probably longer than you want it to, but everything in your brain starts with a question. What question are you asking yourself that makes you afraid? What questions are you asking yourself that makes you hesitant? Change your questions, you'll change your thoughts, you change your choices, change your actions, change your words.
Perfect. Mark Dulaney, thanks for being on the show today. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. I'm glad you had me.
Thank you for listening to the Digital Masters. Sorry. Oh my God, Cassidy, say it right. Thank you for listening to the Digital Marketing Masters podcast with your host, Matt Rouse. Don't forget to pick up Matt's new book, Will AI Take My Job Too? And get a glimpse into the future of AI for work and for businesses. Good job, Rachel. Oh, and tell them the thing about, well, you know. Oh, right. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode and leave us a 10-star review on your favorite podcast app. It only goes up to 5 stars, Rachel. Whatever, Cassidy. Just don't forget to pick up the book, Will AI Take My Job Too? It might just save your job from someone like me.